Hi lovelies, you're welcome back to my channel. So my name is Ruby, and for today's tutorial we'll be learning how to make a wrap dress. So if you're interested in learning how to make a wrap dress, please keep on watching. Thank you. So this is for the front pattern, and the first thing you need to do is to measure 5 inches 5 inches from the shoulder line to your full length. You measure 5 inches. If you are in a big size, you can measure 6 or 6.5 or 7. So I measured 5 inches for mine, and I'm just ruling it into a straight line. So right now, the next thing for you to do is to write down your vertical measurement. So the first one is my armhole. So her armhole is 7.5 plus half inches is 8. Her waist is 14.5 plus half inches is 15. While her hips, from her waist I'm going to count 9 and add half inches for sewing allowance. That's 9.5. So that is what I did, and I'm just drawing that into a straight line. So that half inches I added to all of them is just for my sewing allowance. When I join my shoulder with the half inches, all the measurements will be normal as your client. If your client is 14.5 and you added 5, so if you join your shoulder with 5 inches, it's just going to be, you've already minus half inches from that measurement, so it's going to be 14.5. So I just labeled all the lines to avoid confusion normally. So the next thing for us to do is to write down your shoulder measurement. Your shoulder measurement divided by 2, you're just going to mark it at your shoulder line, at your neck line, or your shoulder line and your armhole line. So the next thing for us to do is to write down our horizontal measurement. Your bust measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches of allowance. Your bust measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches is what you're going to mark at your armhole. And at your waistline, your waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches, you're going to mark it. And at your hip line, that's exactly what you're still going to do. Your hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inch of allowance. I hope you understand what I just said. So I just connected all the lines, and right now I'm marking my full length. I'm going to add 2 inches to it, and that 2 inches will be for folding allowance. That means my half full length is 37 plus 2 inches, making 39. So I'm just marking that into a straight line. So from my hip, I'm just going to draw a straight line to the full length, or to the hemline of it. Just draw a straight line. So that is it. So let's draw the neck line. So for my neckline, I'll be using 3.5, not 3. I corrected it later on, so I used 3.5 as my neck width. So here is it, 3.5 as my neck width. And I'm just going to draw a slanted line to meet my waistline. So I'm just extending my waistline to enter that 5 I gave out initially. So I'm just going to draw a curved line, and I'll connect it together. So here is it. So the next thing we're going to do is to mark our shoulder slant. So I'm going to mark half inches, and I'm just going to slant it to meet my neck width. Then right now we're going to draw our armhole curve. I'm just going to place my tape rule, and I will measure half of what I got. I'll go in by 1/2 inches, and I'm just going to draw my slanted line to meet my armhole. So here is it. So we are basically through with the front. So the wrap dress, one side is going to get a drape. I'm going to use a slash and spread method to get that drape or that plinting. But for the other side is going to be, I'm just going to cut it with this same pattern. So the next thing for us to do, at the hemline I came in by 5 inches, and at the waist I measured 1.5 here, and I just drew a slanted line to meet that 5 inches I gave at the hemline. If you understand, at the hemline I measured 5 inches. Apart from the 5 we gave out before, I still measured 5, and at the waist I measured 2 inches, and I just drew a slanted line connecting it together. So right now we are cutting. I was saying initially that one side is going to get a little bit of drape, maybe four highest 4 drapes, and the other side is going to be normal. I'm just going to use the same pattern and just cut it normal, but the other one I'm going to use a slash and spread method to get my plinting, my drape. So I hope you understand, but we're going to do it together anyway. So here am I cutting. So here is it. So at that waistline I measured 2 inches, and I divided it by half. I divided it by half, and I got like 3 lines or 4. Then at that same waistline I checked where my draping is going to stop, and I concluded that I'm going to give 2 inches. I'm going to leave 2 inches apart for my draping, 2 inches. But for the last line I later gave 3.5 inches just for the last one. Then from that line I'm going to connect it to those 1/2 inches I measured. I'm going to connect it to those 1/2 inches. One line is going to meet the other line 2 inches, another one will meet another 2 inches. So that's how it's going to be. Then I will now cut, and I will now spread it. So from the waistline I came down by 6 inches. I'm just repeating what I did so that you understand. I came down by 6 inches. So from that 6 inches I now started giving my 2 inches spread, my 2 inches. But at the last one I gave 3.5 inches. So you can see I'm connecting those 2 inches to the 1/2 inches. So this line I'm making right now, this last one, I'm going to later correct it to give 3.5 inches, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, here is it. I corrected it to give 3.5 inches, but the other ones are 2 inches apart. So here is it. So right now we're just going to cut. I'm going to cut them, but I won't cut them completely off. I'm just going to cut, and at that 1/2 inch side I'm going to leave a little bit of something holding it together. just like that. So here it is. So right now, like I said before, one side of the dress is not going to get a drape, so I'll just be bringing my, I will be using this now to cut the one that won't have a drape. And I want my wrap I'm using, it has two different patterns, so I'll be using this pattern to cut one side, and I'll be showing you the other pattern I'll be using to cut the other side with the drape, with the planting. I hope you understand. I'm sorry, I hope you understand what I'm saying. I hope you get me. So this one is without a drape. So now for the second one, we're just going to spread it. Just see how I arranged it. So now I give 2 inches gap, 2 inches, 2 inches. Then for this last one, 3.5, 3.5. That is how you're going to spread it. Then I'll just cut like this. That's all. You can see I'm using this side of the material to get the other side of the wrap dress. So this is it. So the next thing for you to do is just to bring it together. You fold it, those 3.5 inches you left, you fold it to meet the other one. The 2 inches, you fold it to cover the 2 inches. That's how you're going to get it. Then when you finish all this, make sure your full length is still the same thing. Make sure you are correct, because sometimes if you don't do it well, you may reduce your length, the length of your dress. So make sure it's the same thing. So can you see how I'm folding it? I'm just planting it, making sure it's still giving me those 2 inches, 2 inches, and 3.5 inches I removed or I used for my spreading. Then use your safety pin. Use your safety pin to hold it for now. Then when you're sewing, you can use your hemming gum and iron it. Your hemming gum and iron it so that it's going to stay, so that your planting will not be shifting or moving, to just be in one place. So that's how you're going to do to secure your plantings. So I'm just using my pins to secure my So guys, this is how careful you're going to be to make sure you get a perfect result. Don't rush, just make sure you pin it down very well. Make sure your measurement is accurate. Make sure everything is right before you sew. So for this dress, I'm going to be using a lining. I'm going to line the dress. So you can line yours or you can leave yours like this, depending on what you want. So guys, like I said, if you haven't subscribed and you're still watching up to this moment, please subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share my video. Thank you very much. So I didn't forward this side. I just wanted you to know how careful I was in pinning it, and I just want you to take your time to do it if you want yours to have this effect, just depending on what you want. So here is it. I'm just bringing it together for you guys to see. So the other dark shade, I would like the other dark shade to be outside, to be on top of this yellow one. So that's how I'm going to do it. Like I said, you can use, I used hemming gum later on to secure my pleating together. Okay, this is how I want my wrap dress to be, and this is how it's going to be, guys. So right now for the back piece, you're going to measure, the first thing you're going to do is measure your armhole, which is 8, your half length, which is 15. Remember all this, there's half inches added to it. Then from your half length, you're just going to add 9 inches to get your hips, or 8 inches depending on your size. But I added 9 inches to get her hips. And I added half inches too, that's 9.5. Then I just marked my full length. Remember your full length, if you're folding it, you add 2 inches to it. But if you're using lining for it, you add 2 inches to it. But if you're not using lining, you can just add 1 inches for your folding. So right now I'm just marking them into a straight line. That's my armhole, and that's the next one is my waist, and I already marked my hip line. So the next thing for you to do is your shoulder measurement. Your shoulder measurement divided by 2, you mark it down there. You're at your neckline and at your armhole. Then you go for your neck width and your neck depth. I'm using the neck depth as 1, and the neck width, I'm using the same thing, the same neck width I used for the front pattern, which is 3.5. Then the next thing I did was my shoulder slope, came down by half, and I slanted it up to my neckline. The next thing I did, I took my measurement, my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 2, my waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2, and my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2. Then I'm just going to connect it. Then this is my armhole. The armhole for the back is different for that of the front. You know, in the front armhole we came in by half inches before we drew our curve. So but for the back one, you don't need to come in by half inches. Just show your arm, get the half of it and just connect it to your armhole. So right now we're going to cut. So we are through cutting for the back piece. So I'm just going to place them all together to show you both the back piece and the front piece, to show you how to join it. So when you place the both of them right side facing each other, you're just going to use 1/2 inches and join it at the shoulder if you're not lining. But if you're adding lining to it, the first thing you need to do is to line each piece. For the front, you line the two pieces to get differently, then for the back you line it also. But if you're not lining it, the next thing for you, just place the two of them together right side facing each other and use 1/2 inches to join the shoulders. So here is it. You just use 1/2 inches to join these shoulders together. So the next thing for us to do is to cut our sleeve, to draft out our sleeve. So for the sleeve, I'm going to be using 16 inches for the puffy side, and for the down side of it, I'm going to be using 6 inches. So at the shoulder side, you're going to measure 4. The way you measure 4, you just draw a curve and you measure it, making sure it's 9 or 10 depending on the armhole you used. So this is it. Then for the downside, I measured 12 because it's going to be a puffy sleeve. It's going to be a big sleeve. Then I'm just going to draw a line connecting the up and the down together. I'm going to make a very detailed, I made a detailed tutorial on sleeve. If you don't understand what I'm saying, please just go through my videos and you're going to see how to make an extravagant sleeve. Just click on it and watch how to make the sleeve. Thank you. So the thing for us to cut right now is the down of the sleeve. So the down of the sleeve is just going to be like a pencil hand or a pencil sleeve, like what I'm showing you guys right now on the picture. So that is what I'm going to cut now. So we're going to measure, the other one will measure 16, so we're going to place our tape at 16 at the top side, and you now measure your full length. So now we're measuring the same thing we had at the other side of the puffy sleeve. You're going to measure exactly what you measured at the downside. You're going to measure it up here. Then at the downside of this one, we're going to measure it. You measure your wrist, then you divide it by 2 and you add an inch or 1/2 inch allowance. So that's what I did there. So you're going to cut it to 1 for each sleeve, 1 for each hand. So right now I'm just cutting out a strap, a long rope that we're going to attach to our wrap dress. So I measured 4.5 inches for the width, and for the length I measured, just measure any required length you want. I measured up to 50 for one sleeve, and I'll cutting it into 2. That's 50-50 for the 2 side of the wrap dress. So that's what I basically did for everything, and that will be it for this video. I hope you learned something, and I really hope to see you next on my next video. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you all. See you on my next one.